Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. I'm going to talk about a vertebral compression fracture and wedging and a claim that was denied by Unum, which was ultimately overturned by the federal judge. Now, one of the most painful back injuries is a compression fracture of the spine that will result in wedging and a loss of height of the vertebral body. The bone of the spine collapses, and as it heals, it wedges. The spinal bones can also fracture, and that fracture is known as a retropulse fragment. That fragment can become displaced into the spinal canal, and you can imagine it is a very painful condition. I'm often asked in these cases, well, what about the common causes of these symptoms? And the common cause can be trauma, like ejection from a car or an ejection seat, or tumors, infections, or other problems with the back. That's going to cause problems with pain, a loss of disc height, a hunch forward position. And it's not unusual for pain to increase with increased motion, walking, standing, and even static lifting. Now, there is treatment, but there is generally a more radical form of treatment, taking hip bone and dealing with the wedging. But that's not always possible because of the nerve involvement. And obviously, this is a particularly complicated surgery. Now, Unum approach to handling vertebral compression fracture cases is not unique. Many carriers use this same approach. They're going to start by looking at an analysis of the type of policy that you've got. In other words, what's the definition of disability? When did this condition happen, particularly if it's the result of an accident? What was your nature of the treatment that was provided? What was your response to the treatment? And if we find that the medical records are silent or the treating physician won't comment or address restrictions and limitations, the carrier is going to deny the claim, or they may even get an IME to justify their denial. And it doesn't matter how disabled you might be, that's their game plan. One of the things that's important in these types of cases is to use a functional capacity evaluation to rebut the liar for hire doctor. So if your physician won't give a report about your restrictions and limitations and your response to treatment and how that may or may not help your functional limitations, you really have no choice but to get on your own a functional capacity evaluation or to get your own independent medical evaluation, because you want to rebut the opinion of the liar for hire doctor. And of course, if you don't have a physician that supports the claim, you need to have that IME or the FCE. Now, the FCE is an objective test to determine your functional status. How long can you sit, stand, walk, stoop, bend? How much can you lift? And that's really crucial to document this, because that's one of the best ways of rebutting their contention that you have no restrictions and limitations in any case, much less a vertebral compression case. Now, I will tell you that there are some times that disability carriers like Unum are going to reject a functional capacity evaluation on the basis that it's not time relevant. And in other words, it didn't happen in relationship to the denial of the claim. But I think that's a really bogus argument, because often their IME is not necessarily contemporaneous. It's done sometimes after the fact to justify the claim's denial. So I think that these arguments of contemporaneous exams or evaluations can be a bit disingenuous. In fact, let me tell you about what the court did with this in the case of Boykin versus Unum Life. And this is a case out of California. The court, of course, noted that Boykin had the burden to prove that he met the standard of disability. And he had returned to work after sustaining a compression fracture in a motor vehicle accident. He had worked about 8 months before his increasing back pain and leg pain, as documented in his medical records, made it difficult for him to work. Now, Unum, as sometimes they do, failed to get those records. The judge was not impressed with the lack of diligence. And the court noted ultimately that when presented with a functional capacity evaluation after the fact, that the FCE made the same evaluation findings that the treating physician had made. So even though the FCE was after the fact, it was consistent, and it was consistent not only in terms of the complaints, but consistent in terms of the medical records. In fact, the medical records showed a progression of symptoms and his lack of response to treatment. So you need to understand that that the carrier is going to be looking not only at the cause of the symptoms, what you were doing in terms of work, how your symptoms may have progressed, and they should be taking all of that into consideration to determine the impact of your medical condition, including the compression fracture, and make a decision that is based not only on that, but on your medical records. They just can't ignore records, cherry pick records, or say, look, whatever you got's too late, too bad, so sad. Got it? Okay, let's take a break.
Are you a professional with questions about your individual disability policy? You need the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. This book gives you a comprehensive understanding of your disability policy with tips and to-dos regarding your disability application that will assist you in submitting a winning disability application. This is one you won't want to miss. For the next 24 hours, we are giving away free copies of the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. Order yours today at disabilityclaimsforprofessionals.com.